Tom, we played Prime Minister Trudeau's clip the other day where we know later on, of course, Israel, the Israeli, I guess at the time, Prime Minister, also the opposition leader came out and basically said, asked basically, what are you doing? I want to play that clip again because there's been a development here. So here's what the Prime Minister had said that got him into a bit of hot water.
Even wars have rules. All innocent life is equal in worth, Israeli and Palestinian. I urge the government of Israel to exercise maximum restraint.
Those are those two words, Tom, that sparked a reaction. So I understand now that he has spoken to someone in Netanyahu's cabinet.
That's right. He has spoken with someone in Netanyahu's cabinet, and it was interesting because I remember speculating that maybe Trudeau thought this was, a clever move for his base. He was in a bit of trouble, but not only did he spoke with Benny Gantz, Israel's former defense minister, and who now serves in Netanyahu's wartime cabinet, but also Mr. Lapid, who's the former leader of the opposition, current leader of the opposition and former prime minister, the predecessor of Netanyahu, who's one of his principal adversaries, came out strongly against what Trudeau had to say as well. So, they're trying to explain to Trudeau that, first of all, they're responding to a brutal, unprecedented series of cold-blooded murders by Hamas, which is sworn to kill as many Jews as it can. And they've decided that they're going to put an end to that existential threat. And there's a part that I think is also somewhere a thing where Mr. Trudeau has to be very careful. It's an obvious statement. It's not a misstatement of fact or law. He says, but even wars have rules. But that's a simple statement of fact. Wars have rules. That's true. But the implicit message there is that he, Justin Trudeau, believes that Israel is breaking those rules, and I think that he has to be a little bit more careful when making that sort of apparent assertion. It's an affirmation that carries great weight. With regard to whether or not anybody in the Israeli Defense Forces really cares that Justin Trudeau is calling for maximum restraint, I don't think that they do. So Trudeau obviously wasn't actually talking to them. He was talking to his base that includes 23 of his caucus members who have written to him several weeks ago now, to call for a full-out ceasefire, which, again, sends the message that it sends here in Montreal. We've been through a lot in the past few days. We've had Beaucrem and we found out who had attended, according to her, it was only one that was mentioned in the initial Le Devoir article. It was the one at which Adel Sharkawi spoke and implored that Jews be killed. But that, by the way, that case is just come out. That case is being handed over by the Montreal police to the RCMP at the request of the RCMP. So we'll see what comes of that.
What do you think will come of this situation and calls for Menai to resign?
Well, I don't care whether she resigns. I care whether or not Plante replaces her. I mean, the responsibility should not be with Beaucrem and I, because she has spoken. She spoke publicly at an event that I was at over the weekend, and she said the same thing that she said in her letter back to Le Devoir. That she was doing something that was human. It was just to attend these rallies, and she thinks there's nothing wrong with it. In the title of the piece that I just penned in the Journal de Montréal, I talk about another questionable nomination by Valerie Plante, and I go on to say that there's no such thing as good and bad racism. If your job is to fight racism, you should have been on it away when you saw synagogues and community centers of the Jewish community and swastikas in the metro. You might have wanted to be on that.
Yeah. You don't get to pick and choose, right?
But, with respect to her letter, and I read the open letter that Beaucrem and I actually wrote, I got the impression that she says, look, within my job, within my capacity in the city, in other words, in City Hall, that's where she's saying she can be objective. She talks about both sides and saying she can do it there. The question is, outside of that, as you said, Tom, clearly she's not. So should that affect what happens inside her job?
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I'll give you a comparison that might seem a bit of a stretch, but do you remember when Nicole Duval-Hessler, one of the finest jurists to have ever sat on any Quebec court, she was then the Chief Justice of the Court of Appeal, she got into a spot of trouble for giving a speech to the Lord Reading Society, which again is a very serious old lawyers group here in Montreal, an association that I've had a chance to speak to. Nothing but good people all around. But at the time, she was, involved in hearing a case on, I believe it was Bill 21. And so she had, ventured into that. And she got called out on it very strongly by people saying, hold on. You can't be in the process of taking a neutral look at this if you are attending something and you appear to be sharing a point of view that could be fairly interpreted as showing that you've already got a point of view on this, an opinion. So you can't say, I'm going to be looking at questions of racism in Montreal. She's trying to reduce it down to something much more compact. She's saying, no, I'm here to look at what the administration does.
Right.
So what happens in the larger Montreal context, I really don't have to worry that it might appear to any reasonable observer that I've got a prejudice. I've got a point of view that is weighted towards one side. She can't continue in that job. The job loses all credibility. And this is the type of virtue signaling appointment that Valerie Plante loves. I mean, the same thing with Dominique Olivier at the public consultation office. And she finally had to step down. So let's look at what's got to happen here. Since Beaucremanaille is now, she's foreclosed. She's not in a position to do that job. And so it's not up to her to decide whether or not she can continue or not. It's up to Plante to take stock of the situation and say, okay, I've got somebody that I've named to fight racism. And clearly, she's been at activities where there were racist chants and slogans and implorations against the Jewish community and the Jewish population. And what do I do? Well, what you do is you find somebody else who can do that job credibly, because it's actually important work.
Is the work that's being done, sorry, Aaron, I, if I'm going in a different direction, redirect, but I just am wondering about the existence, if we still need, not Manai in her role, but the OCPM. Do we still need that to exist?
No, of course not.
Thank you.
And the proof of that was provided by a woman named Valerie Plante.
Yeah.
The mayor threw in the garbage the result of the most important consultation it ever carried out under that lofty mandate. It was the consultation on, what do we do? Do we keep the community neighborhood roadway open? Yes or no? The public said massively, yes, keep it open. And she goes, even though I've just held the largest consultation ever, I'm throwing that result in the garbage because it's not what I want and it's not what the people who vote for me want. So I'm throwing it out. This is the Valerie Plante that has got her blinkers, she's got her blinders on. You're watching her go, and she's just got, it's my way. And she's not, the persona of Valerie Plante is anything but that. But look at the Sue Montgomery thing dragged on for years, and it was an unbelievable situation for her and Ms. Harris that they were put in. And the city had to pony up hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money to pay that lawsuit because they won in front of the municipal commission. They were about to win in court. They had won otherwise in court. I mean, this is Valerie Plante. When she digs in her heels and she decides she's right, she is my way or the highway, but it's got such an ingratiating smile. You never consider that for her. And I just wanted to finish off on one thing. Beaucremanaille, the citizen, is allowed to have whatever point of view she wants. Like all of us in our society, she's got free speech, she's got freedom of association, freedom of assembly. She can do what she wants. You can't call out. And she didn't do it. She attended a rally where somebody else was doing it. You can't call out for violence or in this case, death against an identifiable group. That goes against the criminal code, or at least that's what the police are going to determine whether or not they bring charges under the criminal code once they analyze all the evidence. But what I'm saying about her is she clearly can't do that job.
No.
And I think that Plante knows that as well as anywhere else. And if it becomes the type of thing where, it's the Jewish community calling for her. So I just wanted to be really clear that there are a lot of people across many spectrums in Montreal who are looking at this based on their experience and expertise and just saying, this is not on. She cannot continue in this job.
Well, of course, this morning we heard from the Muslim Association saying that she's being intimidated into talking, I guess, about the mayor in getting rid of her. So you're hearing a different side to this as well.
But interestingly,
at the end of the day, I think the mayor, you're right, Tom, will have to make that
But
decision.
it's good to hear it. No, it's great to hear a different side.
Yeah.
That's what public debate is all about. I'm very much in favor of that. Nobody's required to agree with me.
But you can only have a debate if people are listening, and the mayor's not listening. These days, she's just digging her heels in.
She's blocking your ears, and she's going blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Speaking of blah, 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 I mean, she put out this absolute, it looked like porridge, I've explained to her that she has a duty to be reserved in her, what does that even mean? It means nothing. And I've asked her to reach out. So it was part of her job. She doesn't even think it's part of her job. So that's another reason why she shouldn't be there, because it doesn't even know what the job entails.
Tom, what did you make? We have to wrap up. We had the Jacques Cartier Bridge blocked this morning, pro-Palestinian rally there. You saw what happened with Trudeau yesterday in Vancouver at that restaurant he was at. I'm trying to understand what this side is trying to provoke the government into doing or trying to provoke other people into thinking.
Well, I mean, it's not a good way to get people on your side, blocking bridges at rush hour. They believe that this is what they have to do, and so it's it's part of public protest. I'm not sure any accusations will flow from blocking the bridge. It didn't go on that long. I hope you get a chance to watch the whole thing with Trudeau in that restaurant, because it is long. Like, it goes on for minutes and minutes. Mm-hmm. And I think that Trudeau showed so much calm under fire. It was a study for anybody who wants to know how a politician has to behave when that sort of thing is going on. It was this guy gets like top marks. He was just outstanding, as was, by the way, his security detail. Mm-hmm. They were amazing. I think one person got tased and one person wound up being being arrested because they had. I think the accusation is that they hit a police officer. So you're going to get arrested if you do that. But overall, having these hundreds of people swarming Trudeau into a popular restaurant, into another place, out into it was a masterwork of restraint by the security forces there, the police of Vancouver and his RCMP detail. Trudeau was great himself. As for the people who were pulling that stunt, part of public life. I mean, you get to protest. It wasn't in and of itself violent, but it's an indication, to go to your question, that there are people who are willing to push this quite a bit further in what they're going to do so that their point of view gets heard above any other. And I do think that we're starting to see a very difficult situation in the Middle East. One, we've seen different iterations of it, but this one is particularly gruesome, and on both sides, in the sense that, what we're seeing for the civilian population in Gaza is very difficult. And what, of course, we saw after those horrific terrorist attacks on October 7th is indescribable.
Mm-hmm. Tom Mulcair, back tomorrow morning with Andrew Carter at 7:40. Tom, thank you.